All right. We are live for another episode of the Blue Crocus Experience. And I'm joined today by Jeff Blass. Second time he's been on the podcast, which is exciting. Jeff, awesome to have you.
Thanks for having me back, Lewis. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. And we're gonna get into some interesting stuff today, a little bit outside of the normal run of conversation. But Jeff, before we dive in, maybe just give people a background for those that didn't listen to our first episode.
Sure. Been in the tech space, digital marketing for a while. Date way back even to the yellow page days, the dinosaur days. Been around businesses and advertising and marketing for some time. Uh, I am the CEO of Metatech Web Solutions. We are a tech-based web development company. We do SEO, we build websites. We also create software, which we can get into on another podcast. But we are mainly focused on working with any client that's looking to have an online web presence. Anybody from a painter to a junk removal business to we work with doctors, lawyers, personal trainers. So and yeah, we're excited where things are going, and we feel we're in the right place at the right time. So it's an exciting time to be in digital marketing.
Yeah. Speaking of where things are going, AI is the buzzword on everybody's mind, and we're going to get into a little bit of that. And I think there's so many aspects and angles that we could take. But what are some things that you're looking at and saying, man, this is going to be cool. This is going to be really cool for the industry, and let's ride the wave.
I I've been a business owner for a long time, and I think I find really kind of fascination with disruption. And I think we will see different industries disrupted at different times. We'll see, if a depression or recession hit, maybe like a macro disruption, right? It's hitting all different types of industries. We'll see something when COVID hit, it's going to hit, especially those, like restaurants serving people inside, and, the hotel industry. There's a lot of, service businesses that are constantly interfacing with people that really hit. I think this hit is different. And while AI, I think a lot of things that come to mind as people think of Terminator and they think of, Skynet and all these different things and disasters and things that can happen. And for me, I'm not fearful of AI. I think AI in of itself is not the threat. I think even when people express fear of I think it's more the human people that are, the people that are behind it, the human aspect, the people that might have malicious intent utilizing it. But I think the positive with it is it's going to cause us to evolve. Like if we look at our economy and our society as we started out, way back when as more of a hunter-gatherer, settler type society, then we get into more of an agrarian, farmland. Then we get into the industrial age, and now we're in the information age. So we're ready for another another reset. And I think that's a buzzword too, where people might be scared of the reset, but it's when you lean into it and you hit it head on. You know, played sports a long time ago, and it's different when you get hit on impact by just standing there as opposed to hitting something head on. And I think that's why I'm seeing AI is we hit it head on. It's coming at us. It's infiltrating every industry that I can imagine in some way is going to be impacted by it. I haven't looked at every single industry, but as I've dug at each one, and I think with things being reshuffled and the disruption, I think it creates opportunity. And I think we're all at that stage if we look at this as opportunity to create and grow. And I think it's a wonderful time to be alive. And when a lot of people are scared, pessimistic, and I think the people that are really against AI, I get the vision. It's kind of like somebody, you know, taking a handful of gravel, throwing it at a tank. It's not going away. So I think it's really on us on how are we going to respond. So our response is that it's part of us. part of what we do. It's part of our industry.
Yeah.
And I think if we can see it as a power tool, the power tool replaces the types of outcome that we can have. We can get jobs done more, expeditiously. We can finish something more quickly, with more efficiency. It replaces the tools, but it doesn't replace the carpenter.
Yeah. You can
So
just
I
charge
think
more. You can charge more now because he's doing more faster.
you can build off of it. It's a growth model, and I think where we can easily lose sight of that. But if we see it as something, wow, it's really something I can put into, like some people in my industry have laid off their staff. I brought in AI because I want them to be great carpenters with it. And now they're able to serve clients more. They're able to bring these tools to the forefront, and now they're utilizing, they're digging in with them. So everything is improving, everything is enhanced. So when there was mass layoffs in the industrial days and they laid off a lot of the laborers, the next day they were hiring who? They were literally hiring people the next day. They were hiring the machine operators. And I think they would call that for us like the prompt engineers. That's the phrase that goes around Chat GPT, is the people that know how to ask the right questions.
Yeah. Yeah. You can be scared of an electric drill, or you can figure out how to use it and how to change the bit and
Right.
make it happen, right?
Right.
John Thibodeau is jumping in with us. He says those against AI haven't used AI. I think that's an interesting one. And it segues into, you mentioned a lot of people see it as a threat, right? A lot of people
Mm-hmm.
see AI, their jobs is one thing. I would say, go out and learn how to use these tools, because if you're useful with them, there's a chance that you're going to be needed. But what are some threats that you see as we kind of go into this brave new world?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that title. Aldous Huxley, as you know, is one of my favorite authors, wrote A Brave New World. It's going to be a threat, I think, to people that are unprepared. I think it's a threat from perhaps a control standpoint. What are the ethics, and whose ethics are going to be around the operating systems of AI? And we see that that's already in the mix with what Elon's working on, which is X.AI. I think it's something worth looking into. It's not really something that's public yet, but he's unveiling that X.AI is going to be maybe one of the control mechanisms of it. So I think it's going to really shift I think people that are afraid, or people that don't lean into it, are it's going to bring a lot of problems to our economy. And I think we're going to see a very big split in classes. I think we're going to see less of middle class. We're going to see, I believe, more of like a wealthy class, and then people that are struggling, perhaps maybe dependent more upon the government or others. I think it's going to disrupt capitalism. I think we're going to move into a new ism, whatever that may be. And while there are pros and cons, I believe, to capitalism, I think it's just going to basically break our existing construct of how we communicate, how we do business. Yeah, it's going to disrupt and take a lot of the jobs, but it's going to take a lot of the jobs that people don't like. Coming from the education spectrum, I was not a licensed teacher, but I was a layperson, as you call it, coming out to teach entrepreneurship and economics. And it's 80% of students hate school, roughly. And stats are stats, so it could be all over the place, but that one's pretty much out there as a platitude. And then about 80% of people dislike or hate their job. So I think it's going to disrupt what is familiar. We're going to be, forced to create new things and innovate. The days of like school of regurgitation, you and I have kids, and our kids are taught. My kids don't go to school. My kids are homeschooled. But in a traditional school, They'd be taught regurgitation, right? Let's memorize this. I mean, what's the point of learning all this math when we learned a calculator can process a lot faster than us?
Yeah.
That's a form of AI. Right? So for me, I think it's going to disrupt a lot of the things that we're willing to lose. But I think the biggest threat is the ethics. Where do we draw the line? Does AI take control? Well, I'm not going to rule that out as a possibility. I think if we prepare as a society, I think we can have AI do the best for us instead of work against us. I don't think we're headed into the days of Terminator. Not yet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting too, right? Because you're speaking in some pretty broad brush, and I know we can't go deep on all of these, right? But it's going to be very interesting to see how this ages. This one conversation, this snapshot in time, right? You know, because I agree with you. I think that I think we're on a tipping point here, economically, you know, industrially, in the way we compute, in the way that we do work, in the way that, you know, we can do work from anywhere in the world. You know, sure, in the blue collar, it'll be very interesting. You know, we're going to get into this here a little bit in the blue collar side. Um, there's a lot of interesting things that are happening, and if you just close your eyes and stick your head in the sand, you're like, oh, nothing's happening. You know, my world's never going to change. But then, you know, eventually it's going to catch up to you. And I'm excited to see, you know, as these thought experiments that we're having right now, informed by things that we're looking at, how they age, right, and
Mm-hmm.
how they go. Because, you know, people like AI is awful. Well, explosives are awful too, but they can be used to dig up really important minerals. They can be used to dig up, you know, precious gems. They can be used to blow up your family. They can
Mm-hmm.
be used to send rockets to space or into you know the outer spheres of like the stratosphere and stuff, right? They can be
Right.
used for fireworks. Are we just going to ban explosives, or are we going to see, hey, how do we regulate and how do we use them? So I think you have to look at it from, hey, how can we use it as a tool because it's not going away, and how can we know enough about it to be there to help regulate it when that matters.
I hope it goes over like it does in some my circles, like firearms, learning to utilize them responsibly, right? So, you know, and but again, it comes down to really the human element.
Yeah,
You know, it's people say, well, is it the gun or the person? Well, depending on which side you stand on, but really it's both. It takes two. You know, the gun just makes it easier for the wrong person to do the wrong things. So I
yeah.
think AI makes it easier for the wrong person to do the wrong things.
It's a
If it's in the, if it,
magnifier.
yeah, if it's in the wrong hands, you know. So I think that's something we just have to be cognizant of, you know, not only in our industry but just as our society, of making sure that we are keeping our children safe and just watching for the threats that come. But I think when something is so new and unknown, I think people have a proclivity towards fear. But fear is the world I live in the sense of its magic, its imagination. I love the phrase "danger is real, fear is not." You know, fear is an imaginary sensation that we think is something going to happen. Danger is a real thing. So I don't think there's any danger here yet with AI, at least at the level that we're at as far as raising families and running businesses. Could there be? Sure. But I think there's ways to be just, aware and watch how things change. But right now, I think we need to focus on what the next steps are too. Is like, how can we utilize it? How can we responsibly utilize it in our lives and businesses?
It's an interesting point in history that we find ourselves in. There's some interesting stuff happening with search engines too. How do you
Mm-hmm.
see that coming in? I know Google's kind of changing up. What are some changes you've seen with Google and other search engines, and how does that tie into this conversation?
I have a bit of a background coming from there. I come from Silicon Valley. Friends and family work at Google. It's not like they send me all the Cliffs notes, but definitely have some interesting conversations with them. But I, Google is AI. Google is an AI machine. It collects data,
Yeah,
and I think we want it to be more human, or we think, oh, it's going to be, it's going to, the horse and buggy days of it being more human. It's already been AI. AI is already here. So as far as search, with Microsoft Bing coming on, and Microsoft buys out, merges with LinkedIn and OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, and it looks like they're a large investor in Facebook. Microsoft Bing is a search engine, but it's really only, 100 million daily users is a lot. But Google is still Goliath, and Google, my money's on Google. Google is going to be the bigger play. So ChatGPT, I really feel, is the Trojan horse. It came out, and what it is, it's a giant plagiarism software. As people get to utilize it, but it's really drawing data from everybody else, and what we're doing is we're feeding data into it. We're asking it the questions that, it's supplying all the information that is going to be useful to people at Google, who is ChatGPT, are supposedly ex-Google employees that started their own business. And so, but what is Google developing on the back end? They're developing Gemini. They're creating their own, version of ChatGPT. So I think it's going to have some influence, but we'll know it when we see it. The way that it's changing search is, I utilize the analogy of three guys asking a girl out at a bar. And the way that search engines were done, let's say 2022, and you and I who operate in the SEO space, is what we would do is whichever guy was our client, we want to differentiate that guy to stand out to the girl. So then that girl picks that guy. We're going to make him the tallest, 6'8" like you. So we're going to rank him the highest, right? We're going to make sure that guy, as a metaphor, is going to be most appealing to that lady. What's his background? What's his disposition? And we can relate all that over to features that we can implement on the SEO side. So SEO is a lot of differentiating each guy, so it stood out to the avatar, the client avatar, in this case, the lady, who's going to pick the guy. Fast forward now to 2023, ChatGPT rolls out, and what it does is it democratizes, it makes available to now, we can add all these different features. So each one of those guys can be equal in height, equal in wealth, equal in attractive disposition. So now these three guys with AI and all the tools that are available to not just us, but folks that can utilize that to make these guys stand out, it makes them all the same. So what's the differentiating factor? Which guy wins the girl? And it's the guy who can ask the right questions. So SEO is evolving into incorporating AI into SEO, bringing in prompt engineering, so that guy can win the client. So it's a great time to be in the industry, but it's a very, very important time to understand where it's going and how it's evolving. As much as there's an array of options out there, and a lot of people market, marketing secrets. I'm no believer in marketing secrets, especially with AI coming out, because I can go scrape the data, the back end of the website, learn about everything that somebody in my competition is doing. So it's a matter of staying ahead, learning how AI is working, and also educating our clients on how to stand out to stay in front of their client avatar, or as some people say, their target audience, right? So I think where marketing was already, I consider, a tandem sport where you have the client and the marketer working together, I think it's going to become even more so, that there's going to be a lot more work on the marketer or the SEO side. There's going to be a lot more work on the client side, but it's going to be a process of growing together.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited, because the people that truly lean into it, there's a lot of upside for it. And I think we saw this a lot in the beginning of 2020, that the people that didn't have any online presence, they had to figure that out pretty quick, because no one was going out and seeing their trucks driving around. They weren't gathering at water coolers anymore. And it feels like we're kind of at the next phase here, right? Where SEO has changed a lot in the last 4 years, 3-4 years. Clients have got to be, stepping up and doing more unique things, putting in more work, and then agencies like us have to be doing the same. So it's exciting. I think Honestly, I'm excited. I think that comes through in our conversation here. But
Yeah,
there's some scary stuff too, right? And so it's how can we position ourselves to answer those questions for our clients because they're hearing stuff all over. And then how can we, be out there testing the different tools, figuring out which ones you need in your tool belt and what you need.
I think never stop learning. I think if you're going to be coaching or teaching, then certainly be coached and be willing to be taught, because the Google and social media, they're brokers. Gary Vaynerchuk came out on stage one time. You've heard of Gary, right? And Gary came out on stage one time and he's wearing his phone number across his sweatshirt, which, coming from my generation, I'm Gen X, I'm 44, that's very odd. As you grow, whether you're a business owner or pastor or celebrity, as you gain popularity, you kind of, push yourself out of the light. You're not giving out your cell phone. And here's Gary with his cell phone number. Then it almost instantly clicked with me after I saw it. I said, he's removing the middleman, or not relying on the middleman as much. So Instagram, when he puts out a post, he's only going to reach about 11 to 15% of the audience at most, or, organically, right? So Instagram is a business. It wants him to buy ads so then he can reach more of his audience. So what he did is he moved his audience in closer so he can reach them directly.
Yeah.
So if we look at Google, which is important to be on Google, right? Important to be on Microsoft Bing, important to do marketing, but understanding those are broker sites to get that first date. Now the client got that first date, so to speak. Now training them on how to get the second, third, and fourth date. You move that client into your CRM. You follow up with them. You send out reminders. And that way, as things are shifting, the clients are coming in through Google, they're coming in through Bing, they're coming in through a great YouTube channel. They're coming in through all their different marketing efforts. But how do you keep that relationship going, right? So I learned that from watching Gary give a presentation. It's like, okay, well, yeah, so you don't always have to rely on that broker for every single client. It is a tool. I believe Google's still one of the most valuable tools you could possibly have in marketing. But pay attention to how our clients are making decisions. They're making decisions through social media. If Gen Z is your audience, a lot of them are going through Reddit and Instagram. If you're like me, or the Gen X generation, we're the confused generation. We like to go through everything. We're going to go through YouTube. We don't know if we like to watch it. We don't know if we like to read it, short form, long form. We're everywhere. So be everywhere. But get your clients into your CRM. Your brand and your CRM are huge wins that are often missed in industry. And I don't think that's changing with AI coming on. I think it's just becoming more magnified of how important it is, because repeat business is the name of the game. So you want to build a book of business and continue to get those repeat clients.
Agreed. And you talk about his personal cell. I'm sure it was a CRM, a tracking number.
Right. It probably wasn't ringing his phone in his ear,
No,
but
right?
it was a way.
I get his texts.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see. I think Gary Vee is a fascinating marketer. He's always been testing different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening on the back end?
Right.
I'm the same with Grant Cardone's. I'm on several text lists because I like to unravel it as a marketer. What are they doing, and why are they doing it? And what does that look like? How does that translate into them growing their audience, growing their revenue?
Right.
Interesting stuff. Well, we're coming up on time here, but you mentioned marketing secrets. I know a little bit about your thoughts on marketing secrets.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about marketers selling their secrets?
I think it's just an old hat way of doing things, where people have that Indiana Jones instinct built into them. They want to discover something. They want to learn something. So my background being in psychology, behavioral therapy, it's like I get the psychological aspect of it, of marketing. But in the age of AI and disruption where we're at, I think it's a lot of nonsense, because being surrounded by look, as you know, I'm friends with a lot of marketers. I coach other marketers and I learn from other marketers. And at the end of the day, the secrets get out. It's like a magician trick. That's once you know the card trick, it's easy to see it. So if you type in marketing secrets on Facebook, you're just going to get a plethora of different options. Whereas and I think it's a wrong approach for marketers. I think they should bring value like you do. You bring your service based on value and what you can deliver, not what you can pull necessarily out of a hat. And I think that's just honestly not the way it should go. I think marketers should work together so then they're bringing the best possible solutions. I don't really feel that there's a reason for marketers to heavily compete in any niche because we're live to the world, right? We can work just about anywhere. We work in Europe, we work in Canada, we work in South America, we're all over the place. So why base it on secrets? Why limit? Why not we all share and grow? And I think with marketing secrets, it reminds me of a poker player, and they're trying to play their hand and not show their cards. A chess player doesn't, hide the chessboard. They're just thinking chess moves ahead.
Mm.
So I think if somebody's really great at what they're doing, then they don't have anything to hide. I love the game of chess. I've never seen a chess match where you can't see the board. You're looking at the board, right? And you're seeing the moves as they're in play. So now with AI, you can go on the back end and scrape just about any website. It's not hard. If somebody's ranking, within a few minutes, I can figure out what they're doing, for the most part. Sometimes Google can ping pong people around, or the map pack is not sometimes as clear as how they're ranking organically when it comes to the SERPs. But even that, you're able to go in and troubleshoot and figure things out and do some split testing and see what works. And sometimes Google is just ranking people in the middle of the street with no address. You Google can men get pregnant, and it says, yes, men can get pregnant. You go down 6 lines, it says men can't get pregnant. So there's not necessarily a logic to a system. So bringing marketing secrets to Google, the only marketing secrets from Google is the secrets that Google tries to keep from everybody who's on their platform. Those are the only marketing secrets. I think it's a chess game to try and figure out what their next move is going to be. But I think where it's headed is a version of ChatGPT is going to be integrated through Gemini into the SERPs. Google ads are still here because they're a money maker for a business, which is called Google. SEO is here to stay, but SEO is expanding out to other platforms like YouTube and TikTok. It's been YouTube for a while. TikTok, regardless of what Google says, it is a search engine. Search engine is somewhere where somebody can go and make a buying decision for a product. And if that's the case, then TikTok is one of the top search engines, right? So, yeah, marketing secrets. That's a poker player's game.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. William Bird just dropped a question here, which I think is interesting. So I know we could talk for quite a long time here, but I'll probably wrap with his question here. He asks, have you ever thought about doing your SEO work on commission basis versus flat fee per month? I only ask because a lot of times smaller haulers can avoid 3 to 5K a month. I believe that stops a lot of people from pulling the trigger on SEO. Interested to hear your thoughts, just off the cut.
On commission, I think I need to see what the offer is. Are we doing a split per job? Is there carte blanche? Am I able to see the jobs that are closing? So, and depending, I'd like to see what their goals are. I look at things from somebody who's taught in economics. We're gonna have them on as a guest, you and I. But the company I work with out in California, we based it on economics, like what percentage should go into marketing per month, which I think is very similar to commission. And then is on a month-to-month basis, are we hitting those numbers? So I think somebody who's in junk removal should be looking anywhere between 8 to 20%, depending where they're at in their business. And I've seen less and I've seen more. That's just a median. And I know that's just kind of a general number out there, but in my experience working with junk removal companies all over the US is right around that number, 20% kind of being on the high side. But yeah, I would be interested in hearing what the offer is. So if that's William Bird's pitch and says, hey, I want to pay commission, then I would certainly look at that. Where I would lean towards no is because we have a very firm model on what we do. SEO is part of what we do. It's not all of what we do. We focus on email marketing, branding, text message marketing, website development, tech support. So I don't believe SEO is synonymous just with marketing. I think there's so many other elements to it. But if it's a commission based on an entire marketing package, I have done that. And I charged about $10,000 per month because they were paying me on commission. So if we're going to go commission, the price might be more. But if that's the case and we want to pay more, then I'm game for that.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a very.
Oh, so I think we lost it.
Oh, can you hear me? I can hear you.
I think it paused there.
Ah,
I don't know where it paused at. Did I pause?
I think we're still live. I think it's. Can you hear me?
I saw the screen freeze. Where did you hear last time what I said there?
We heard everything. It came through.
Okay.
Came through great.
Yeah, William, I hope that's helpful. But I'm certainly open to sum it up. I'd certainly be open to commission, but I would just say prepared for it to be more because in the past it has been. But really at the end of the day, and I think what William is leaning towards, I don't want to speak for you, William, but I'm going to take a guess here, is it has to economically make sense for the business owner. And I'm a huge proponent of that. So I'm always going to look at things from an economic standpoint, saying, okay, what are the goals? And what percentage do you believe should go into marketing? And most people, you know what they say, Lewis, right? 10%. Like somehow that's just a number in people's mind. They got that somewhere. They took the same economics class, but a lot of people say, well, 10%. Okay, well, let's look at 10%, right? So if you want to make $50,000 a month, what's 10%?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he heard the whole thing. He said we're still live. Sounds great. 10-4 makes sense. Appreciate it. Good question, William. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Will.
I love it. Well, Jeff, to wrap up here, give a few. Let's do one thought. I know I said that would be our last question, but last thoughts on kind of how businesses can prepare as the marketing world, as AI comes in to what we're doing for marketing and will affect and more than just marketing, all areas of what we're doing. Hard to sum up here in a couple sentences and thoughts. I know we'll be chatting about this further, but give the people something to hang their hats on until we come back.
Hire a marketer you can trust. I think having the right person on your team is going to become more important than ever. So how somebody can prepare for shifts in the market. Don't look for somebody who's a self-acclaimed expert. Look for somebody who's an avid student that really works on understanding the market and where things are going. And the litmus test would be asking your marketer some questions. How are you keeping up with Google and ChatGPT? What research are you doing on Microsoft and Bing? And where do you see the future going? And ask your marketer some questions. Be leery of somebody who's trying to sell you something off the shelf from, 4 years ago. People have heard me on both sides of Google Ads. We manage Google Ads, by the way, but I'm very objective with it. And I'll tell people I think it's a horrible idea. I'll tell people I think it's a great idea. Based on what? Their market, their industry, economics, a number of reasons. But look for somebody who's really takes intentional care with your business, or at least their team does. I think that's how someone can best prepare. But then DIY, do your own research as well. Make sure you're educating your team. Work on keeping great people around you, because in the age of AI, I think the most important skill, the most important preparation someone can have is the ability to harness human connection. That is the most important thing, because as a human species, we have a proclivity towards that which is convenient, comfortable. I think we're inherently lazy, but I think we're kind of awesome as a people too, that we tend to value that which is rare. Well, Lewis, you're a married guy, I'm a married guy. On Valentine's Day, our wife's birthday, I don't think sending a picture of flowers is the same as sending a bouquet of flowers, right? There's a difference. So I think staying in touch with old school ways, like email. Email's an old school way. Picking up the phone and contacting your customers. Because as things shift, those rare ways of making contact with each other and with your customers, those are going to become increasingly important. So get really great at making connections with people.
I love that.
And do your best to support your team. So if you've hired a marketing company and you're honestly, and I could say this because Lewis knows I call him how I see him, and Lewis has known me to be opinionated, but Blue Crocus is a good company, and if you're with them, you're in a good place, because it's a forward-thinking company, and I've gotten to know Lewis personally, and I can't say the same for a lot of people out there. So, and I don't say that to promote Lewis. You asked me a question. I think that's the most honest answer I can give, is that make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that have integrity in their industry, know how to communicate. And like Wayne Gretzky says, look at where the puck is going, because it's not staying where it is. Old ways are not out the window. It's not Coke or Pepsi, it's Coke and Pepsi. It's not crypto or the dollar, it's crypto and the dollar. It's not car or plane, you get the idea. Okay, so when Microsoft Bing comes on the scene, it doesn't mean ditch Google and go to Bing. And when Google's going great, it's just pay attention where things are moving and shifting. But have a good tribe and don't try to do everything yourself. Focus on what you're great at and what you want to learn, but know enough to hold the other person accountable, right? I work with accountants, I work with lawyers, I work with a health coach, and I'm not in their industry, but I'm not talking just clients, because I have those same folks as clients, so not drawing a confusion. But I'm talking those people, and I hire them in their industry. I'm not an expert in their industry like they are, but I know enough to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
So I think now is the time to just, as things shift, there are going to be people that sit on their hands and freeze. There's going to be people that are fearful and don't move forward. There's never been a greater time in history to build wealth. Never, that I've seen. And I know that's my opinion, but take it for what it is. That's all it is. It's my opinion. But I've been at this for a while, and it's exciting to see what comes next.
It is exciting. I think that's time, Jeff. It's been a fun chat. I know it won't be our last as we kind of navigate this brave new world, as I said earlier. But appreciate your time on the show today, and appreciate the nuggets that you dropped.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lewis. Always a pleasure. Take care.